This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo.
All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and many blessings this holiday season. Welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in. So let's waste no time, folks. Woo! Holly jolly! Woo! Oh! Let's get to it! Story number 1. Is the bike trail in Mel Creek Park a valid topic of discussion? Big headline. Eminent domain is back in the news because of Mel Creek Park's bike trail's ambitions. Now, what right does the government have to appropriate property for public use while being compensated is what is debatable. Story number 2. Girard has a new fire chief. There's a new fire chief in town in Girard. Jim Petruzzi has been announced as Girard's new fire chief. Jim joins with a long list of an entire family that has served the city of Girard's fire department. Now, according to a local Vindicator article, Petruzzi served 18 years with the McDonald's fire department and will now be entering his family legacy by serving as Girard's fire chief. Story number 3. Local historical groups need more attention. They need more credit. They need to be called upon. Historical societies locally have the answers to a lot of the current questions that people may have and comments. Now, after a mural on Boardman Southern Park Mall sparked up a debatable topic, it leaves the remaining questions of what is true and why are people bringing up some of these discussions, especially true about what they call leaving the inner city, the urban areas, into the suburbs. Moving on up to Boardman. I finally got a piece of the pie. Now, only historians can grapple with this subject and divide fact from fiction. Now, but what got this story in is why have there been so many emerging stories in the headline bringing up such controversial topics? Story number 4. The local community remains on alert for scams. Scams are a very big thing around this time of year. People looking to make a quick buck will take your information and try to use it for their own good. That's a fact. People from any class of society have the ability to be scammed. Anybody. The best way to protect yourself from identity fraud is to invest in a professional service that monitors suspicious activity on your accounts. Now, if you can't afford identity services, never take an offer that is too good to be true, and always double check with credible sources before you take any offers, period. Now, some banks do offer services to help protect you in the event of identity theft. Anyone can be scammed. Take that note. Anyone. Scammers prey on their victims' sympathies. Story number 5. Community members and organizations are looking out for kids. Big headline. Just about every week, new headlines creep into front page news highlighting new initiatives and investments put in place for local children. One amazing focal point of this story is how kids are developing in today's world. Now, in the current uncertain climate, kids have had a hard time dealing with the constant changes and pressure affiliated with today's culture and climate, the conditions. Now, a lot of organizations continue to invest in today's youth with only the hope that it will create some positive development. Now, according to a local Vindicator article, 312,000 has been allocated in the American Rescue Plan funds to help children. Child services get caught up on abuse cases and neglect cases, dependent cases through juvenile court. Now, this story keeps the attention on child care and custody cases, and that's why I made it in this week. Big headline. Story number 6. The gospel of safety is staying in the headlines. Safety remains in top headlines, especially as we get deeper and deeper into the holiday season. Now, awareness is key around this time of year. People have to keep safety on their minds this holiday season. That's big. Smoke alarms, access to fire hydrants, minimal phone use, and distractions while driving. Now, these all have been in the news because people have been losing their life, and they're not at the dinner table this year. Now, these are just some of the safety topics remaining in the headlines. Tragic events have been taking place when referencing many local articles about home fires. Now, rollover car accidents and other work-related accidents have also been reported. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Local public schools. I said police. Sorry about that. Local public schools remain in the headlines. Top concerns. Local schools, police. Whether it be lack of substitute teachers, bomb threats, fights, board controversies, the fact remains that the local public schools remain in the headlines. The COVID-19 fights have really been a thorn in the side of many districts trying to manage their schools while still maintaining academic excellence. Now, the biggest question surrounding this story is how did this happen? And how do we fix it? Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week for you. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost nipping at your nose. Aren't you in the holiday spirit? Shortages and opposing views in certain areas of business, education, and it continues to create news. So in the business of education and businesses, and shortages and opposing views. These are big headlines. Teacher shortages, internal government conflicts, life-changing education concerns. Not only has the city been having a mass problem with maintaining a high standard in legal expectations, but now the law director, Jeff Lemon, is now making conflicting headlines. This story is staying alive. Last week, he stepped down. Now there are big things happening that is causing a lot of people to be concerned about what's going on in Youngstown. CEO Justin Jennings also has concerns about the substitute teacher problem. He's saying there's a shortage. Now, it is clear that Youngstown is fighting for progress. Another headline about $47,000 in health care benefits being denied by the elections board for Joyce Pesta. Now, this is because of her unused sick time. She was denied $47,000. Now, that's the amount that was in the article. Now, this also this was in circulation December 1st. So this story has been developing for these past few days. He's been a little bit upset about this. Now, this is thus showing that there's growing conflicts in the city, and where there is conflicts, folks, there is low morale. The Oak Hill Renaissance building has also been making headlines due to massive debt issues. This is another headline. The GOP and Tim Ryan is another story showing opposing views on energy policies. And the last story creating some buzz in the city has a lot to do with disagreements with downtown improvement projects. Story number 8. Big headline. That's why I made it to the top this week, folks. Well, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines. So don't go anywhere. You're on the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need? small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Welcome back, welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, I used to have a neighbor. His name was Jim, and when you grow up in such harsh conditions, you don't realize how important the holiday seasons is. So Jim comes over to my house. He knocks on the door, and I never expected my neighbor to ever come over to my house. And he said, "Brian, you want to go Christmas caroling?" I said, "Jim, have you looked around? We stay in the ghetto. There's crime everywhere." I said, "Jim, have you lost your mind?" Well, we weren't in the ghetto. We were just in a part of town that had a lot of crime, a lot of violence. People weren't in the holiday spirit. So I thought Jim was smoking some crack. I said, "Jim, are you smoking that stuff?" But after that day, after I thought about it, after I refused Jim's invitation, I went around town. And I saw how depressed people were around the holidays. There was no spirit. And now I know why Jim invited, out of all people, me to come out and express some holiday cheer. That's how you get the holiday spirit, folks. You have to go Christmas caroling at the drug dealer's house. You got to sing, fa la 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 la, hallelujah. Make them come out and put down the drugs and the weapons and get in the holiday spirit. That's my story, folks. And I'm sticking to it. Let's get to it. Story number 1. I wouldn't recommend that, but it's just a joke. Story number 1. Hunger is back on the radar. Yes, it is, folks, especially around holidays. The UN is sounding the alarm on hunger once again. One CNN report says that Latin America and the Caribbean are at their highest rate of hunger in decades. Now, the report also goes on to talk about child health and obesity. So this is a big report. Now, there are other stories trending about the never-ending cycle of hunger taking place in today's world, current conditions. But with this story trending, and the simple fact that people have tried again to stop the never-ending cycle of hunger, this story may never end. I mean, it may always be important. Now, for some reason, they keep ending up with the same results because inside of stories like this, because these hunger stories often stay in the headlines, and nobody knows why when the world seems to have enough resources, seems to have enough food. But that's why story number 1 crept up this week. Story number 2. Here comes another abortion debate. Pro-abortion activists may now be concerned because of some serious ethical problems surrounding this abortion debate. Now, the root of what is causing this debate could be an eye-opener, especially when it's historical when you compare it to genocide. So that's been a lot of babies that haven't been born, and we don't know what they could have amounted to be. Now, the debate now is on moral rights. Now, the people involved in this battle have a lot going on with the re-evaluation of Roe versus Wade and the data showing abortion rates in America. Now, this is a very, very sad story that could end up with a lot of guilt and repentance in the end. Now, as the chips fall, this story is somehow staying alive. Story number 3. Cheating the government and the people At the same time, now may not be a good time to cheat, folks. That's a warning. Now, with accountability being touted as one of the main solutions to pay America's bills, now may not be a good time to cheat. Now, the details in this story are tied up in what some feel is a solution, and that's people paying up. Now, the plan to beef up the IRS and bureaucracies is what got this story in. And this story, this story about people, about what we're doing and with the government's money has been, and saying that people have been abusing the Small Business Administration. In this story, this is what's been happening. They say that people have been abusing the Small Business Administration, the tax system, the systems that are put in place. This is not good in today's environment, especially when money is scarce and people are losing their minds. Now, this is all creating some major new talking points in this subject, and a lot of new eyes are now on the story because spectators and analysts see this as cheating. Even wealthy people putting money in overseas bank, people avoiding paying taxes. This is some real deal stuff. I haven't even got to the dark money, the money on the black market yet. Now, this story is still developing because the next man in line who is in need of a blessing may not get it because of the first man in line probably messed it up. And that's why story number 3 is so important. That's why I made it this week. Story number 4, analyzing what works and doesn't work to prevent Omicron, the virus, the little mutated virus, Omicron, and COVID-19. Well, they're the same. They're cousins, if you want to call it. Now, here is a story that just won't go away. 1 minute, everyone is forced to stay in the house and collect a paycheck. Then the next minute, you're being forced to take a vaccine. Like it or not, now the panic is based on another strand, Omicron. Now, when all of us, when we analyze this story, we have to focus on what works and doesn't work. And that's the big question. Now it's time for people, it could be time for people to start asking questions about the plan to deal with COVID-19 and Omicron. So let's look at the questions like, did shutdowns work? Let's think about that. Question 2. Do vaccines work? Data. Number 3, how will the vaccines affect someone's body or children's body or their child's body or children period years from now? We don't know. Number 4, do stimulus packages work, or did they work? Will they work in the future? What will happen? Now, defeating an invisible enemy has literally caused these questions to be asked, and they've caused a world of problems. So now it may be time to start figuring out what worked, what's working, and what's not working. And that's why story number 4 is so important, folks. Well, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
The city of hope. The city of hope.
If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor the program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. Folks, I almost lost my holiday just excitement. Years ago, when I used to deliver mail, one of my customers gave me a Santa Claus hat, and this year I was about to put it down. And then I saw stories of death, destruction, lost hope for children, for people, families. And I said, you know what? I don't know when my number could be called up. So I put my Santa Claus hat on, and I refused to let the spirit of the holiday season, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, anything, take that away. I'm going to celebrate with family this year. I'm determined. I've lost some loved ones along the way. So I put my hat on this year because of them. And I'll continue to carry on the tradition that me and my family celebrated with as a child. Folks, there's something special about the holidays. So I'm going to sing a tune. There's a special something under the tree, and it's something for you and me. Feed the child that's shivering in shivering gold. Free the child that's shivering in the cold. Free the child, silver and gold. Well, folks, our peaceful and our kumbaya time is up. It's time to get back to reality, to the real stories. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Folks, there's some serious stuff going on in the news. We've been losing children, so we've got to stay on top of our game. Story number 5, keeping the immigration story alive. Now, I'm not going to lose my day job singing, but I created that song especially for you. Don't feel bad, but I'm trying. I'm not Whitney, but I'm trying. Migration is becoming a huge problem across the world, folks. This is real. And that story may have been for some kid in need, because they're singing some songs and they're trying to get to peace. Now, the big problem surrounding this story is, how does someone follow the law when they have no choice but to break the law to survive? Now, another big question is, do they know what the law is? Now, if you thought my singing was bad, folks, this is bad. Seeking asylum is different. It's difficult. And because of that, only this story can show you the ticking time bomb that is happening at borders across the world. But these major questions are also keeping the immigration story alive. And a lot of heroes could be breaking the law because of conscious decisions. Now, this is making this a major story, especially around this time of year. When you think you've got it rough, there's somebody who got it twice as tough. Remain in Mexico laws are at the top of this debate and bringing humanitarian aid workers to the table, especially around this time of year. That's why story number 5 made it in this week. Big headline. Story number 6. Inflation is still a top headline. You cannot buy what you cannot afford. Inflation is keeping all eyes on waste. People are wasting. Now, the people holding the most chips are also, people have got their eyes on them as well. This is a top headline because the more prices keep rising, the more disputes you will have with desperate people. Inflation is creating a ripple effect in economic behavior and has been answering a lot of theoretical predictions created by philosophers from every era. Story number 6, big headline. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made in this week for you to keep you informed. The energy saga could be a silent killer. Big headline. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. Could be a wise statement in the energy business, because generations of achievements and advancements and innovations are tied up in the fossil fuel business. The attack on the fossil fuel industry could create the question of, does generated electricity have a limit? And if it does, what happens if that limit is reached? Now, the opposing question could be, is there a limit on fossil fuels? And now, what someone may find in the end is that things could pretty much flatline if people keep trying to balance things out. That means if you think fossil fuels are the answer, you may get pollution. If you think electricity is the answer, you may get more pollution because you need fossil fuels for electricity. So, and then on top of that, you may start killing something else. So everything kind of evens itself out. Then nature might start fighting back. Now, that's simple mathematics, and it is the equilibrium in just about every business economic class is when something balances itself out. Prices go up, prices go down. You can compare that to energy and fossil fuels, electricity and fossil fuels. Now, the key topic keeping this story alive is supply and demand. So I hope that makes sense. And that's why story number 7 made the top 2 headlines this week. Big. Story number 8. Singing glory, glory to the highest. Peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth. Goodwill toward faithful love of me, adore thee. I will run it, Lord, Lord. Oh, I'm trying to create some holiday vibes, some spirit. Oh, it's fading, it's fading. Come back, come back. The black market, folks, story number 8. The black market and guns are back in the news with guns around this holiday season. The black market. America has a problem with guns and undocumented money. New headlines emerging show that most of the government issued notes, the money that the government prints out, they're hiding under someone's mattress or in someone's safe on the bottom where people don't know about, the dark market. Now, dirty money that is traded off of the books and dirty guns are in circulation, and they are also this market is also known as the black market. Nobody knows why, but that's what it's called. There probably is somebody who knows why, but sorry about that. I slacked off this week. It's the holidays. Now, thus keeping this story trending. That's the fact. Now, keep in mind that the most amazing part about this story is that what is being done in the dark is constantly surfacing into mainstream news stories and causing a lot of chaos, confusion, and still developing crime stories. That's why story number 8 made it to the top this week. Folks, around this time of year, let's try to find some light, some love, some happiness, some joy, something to smile about. Even in this dark world, somebody has to be a beacon of light. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. I have to stay encouraged with all these dark stories. So as usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets and journalists and people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle. If you want to show us some support, all you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Thank you so much for tuning in this week, folks. Get ready, do something, get jolly, something, sparkle, sprinkle something. Oh, this is this time of year of happiness, joy, and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in this week, folks. I'm out here. Come back next week through over 200 or more stories just for you to feed you the light and some joy in every news story. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Have a good week, everybody. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator